Raman lived in a small village at the edge of a vast desert. The village was quiet, with sandy streets, mud houses, and narrow alleys where children ran freely from a young age. Raman was fascinated by old stories. He loved listening to the elders speak about ancient kings, hidden treasures, and secrets buried long ago. His favorite place was the village library, a small building filled with dusty books, maps, and old scrolls. One morning, Raman went to the library as usual. The sun had just risen, and the desert air was cool. He moved carefully among the shelves, looking for something new. Most books were worn and faded, but something caught his eye: thick, leather-bound book with no title. Curious, he opened it. Inside, he found pages filled with strange symbols and drawings of mountains, rivers, and a small mark that looked like a tomb. Raman's heart raced. He could not believe what he was seeing. The map seemed to show a place deep in the desert, a place that no one in the village had ever visited. There were notes in the margins written in an old language. Raman did not understand all of it, but some symbols seemed familiar from the stories the elders had told him. One symbol, a small key, appeared several times. It made him wonder if the tomb really held something important, something that could change everything. He took the book to Leela, his close friend. Leela was smart and patient. She had studied ancient languages for many years and could read symbols that no one else in the village could understand. When Raman showed her the book, her eyes widened. "This is very old," she said carefully. "It looks like a map to a tomb. And these symbols, they speak of a secret, something powerful. We must be careful, Raman. The desert is dangerous, and this tomb may not be easy to find." Raman nodded. He felt a mix of excitement and fear. He had always dreamed of discovering something amazing, but he also knew the desert could be unforgiving. "I understand," he said, "but this is a chance we cannot miss. I feel it. This tomb, it could hold something no one has ever seen before. We should find it." Leela agreed, but she insisted that they prepare carefully. They needed someone strong and brave to help them navigate the desert, someone who knew the land well. That is how they found Farid. Farid was a tracker, an explorer who had grown up in the desert. He knew every dune, every path, and every secret hiding place. When they explained the map and the tomb to him, he smiled and agreed to join together. The three friends prepared for the journey. They packed water, food, rope, lanterns, and tools for digging and climbing. They studied the map carefully, trying to understand the signs and the path they would take. The journey would be long, and they knew there could be dangers along the way. But their curiosity and courage pushed them forward. On the day of departure, the village gathered to see them off. The elders warned them about the desert and the legends of the tomb, telling stories of explorers who had never returned. Raman thanked them but promised to be careful. He could feel the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, but also the thrill of adventure in his heart. The desert stretched endlessly before them. Golden sands rolled like waves under the bright sun. The wind blew steadily, carrying small grains of sand across the path. Raman, Leela, and Farid walked side by side, following the map and keeping an eye out for signs. The first day was exhausting. The sun burned their skin, and the sand made every step heavy. Yet, they did not stop. As night fell, they set up camp. Farid built a small fire while Raman and Leela studied the map again. The stars shone brightly above, and the desert night was calm and quiet. Raman felt a strange energy, as if the desert itself was alive and watching them. He thought about the tomb, about what it might hold, and about the adventures yet to come. Leela pointed to the map. "The symbols here, they mean danger and tests. Whoever built this tomb wanted to protect it. They wanted only the brave and wise to enter." Raman nodded. "Then we must be both brave and wise. We cannot rush. Every step must be careful, and every decision thoughtful. I want to find the tomb, yes, but I want us to return safely too." Farid smiled. "Do not worry. I have walked these sands many times. The desert can be harsh, but it also rewards those who respect it. We will find the tomb, and we will survive if we stay smart and together." The next morning, they began again, moving slowly and carefully. They passed strange rock formations and small desert plants that seemed to grow against all odds. Occasionally, they saw ancient symbols carved into the rocks, much like the ones in the book. Leela studied each one, writing notes and translating as best she could. Every symbol seemed to tell a story, a warning, or a guide to the tomb. By the third day, they reached the first major obstacle, a deep canyon filled with sharp rocks. Crossing it required courage and teamwork. Fard led the way, testing the path with a long stick and checking for loose stones. Raman and Leela followed, trusting his judgment. When they finally reached the other side, they were tired but exhilarated. Each challenge they overcame made them stronger, more confident in their abilities. That night, as they camped near a small oasis, Raman held the book in his hands. He traced the map with his finger and thought about the tomb. "We are close," he said softly. "I can feel it. The tomb is near, and soon we will see it with our own eyes." Leela and Fard nodded. They felt the same excitement, mixed with respect and caution. None of them knew exactly what they would find inside the tomb. The stories spoke of unimaginable secrets and treasures, but also of trials and dangers, yet they were ready together. They had the courage, the knowledge, and the trust in each other to face whatever lay ahead. The desert stretched endlessly around them, silent and vast. But in the distance, hidden beneath the sands and rocks, the tomb waited. It held its secrets carefully, guarded for centuries, waiting for those brave enough to uncover them. Raman, Leela, and Fard would soon step into history, and nothing would ever be the same again. The morning sun rose slowly over the desert, painting the sky with soft shades of gold and orange. Raman, Leela, and Fard woke early, their bodies tired but their spirits determined. The air was cool at first, but they knew it would soon become scorching. They packed their supplies carefully, making sure water bottles were full, ropes were secure, and lanterns were ready. Today, the desert would test them further, and they needed to be prepared for anything. As they walked, the sand shifted beneath their feet. Each step was heavy, yet they moved steadily. Fard led the way, keeping his eyes on the distant horizon for any unusual signs or dangers. The desert was alive in its quiet way. Birds flew low near rare patches of greenery, and the wind carried whispers through the sand dunes. It was easy to imagine that the desert itself was watching the travelers, testing their courage and patience. After several hours, they reached a series of unusual rock formations. Tall, jagged stones rose from the sand like guardians of a hidden secret. Raman stopped and examined the formations closely. "These rocks, they are not random," he said. "Look at the carvings. Someone made them on purpose. They might be a warning or a guide." Leela stepped forward, her eyes scanning the carvings. "These are ancient symbols," she said. "They are old, older than any text I have seen in our library. Some of them seem to point in a direction, while others seem to describe a story. I think we are on the right path. Whoever made this wanted only careful travelers to continue." Fard nodded. "This desert holds many secrets. Many have walked these sands before, and many have failed. We must pay attention to every detail. Nothing here is by accident." The trio continued, following the subtle clues left in the rocks. The symbols guided them through narrow paths, steep slopes, and small valleys filled with loose sand. At times, they needed to climb small cliffs, holding onto rough rock surfaces to pull themselves up. The sun grew hotter, and fatigue began to weigh on them. Their water supply was limited, and each step required careful calculation. By midday, they came to a dry riverbed. The bed was wide, filled with cracked earth and stones, and it stretched for miles in front of them. Crossing it would take careful planning. Fard examined the terrain. "We must walk along the edge where the stones are stable. The center is too soft, and we could sink," he said. As they crossed, Raman noticed small markings in the sand. "Look here," he said. "These footprints are old, but someone has been here before us. They might have found the tomb." Leela studied the markings. "They are very old, yes, but faded. We cannot know if the travelers succeeded or failed. Still, it is a sign. The tomb is near, and we are on the right track. Once across, they found a small cluster of dessert plants. It was rare to see life here, and they paused to rest and drink water. Raman looked around at the vast desert stretching endlessly in every direction. The tomb is hidden well, he said quietly. It is not meant to be found easily, only those who are patient and clever will reach it. Fard sat down, shaded by a small rock. This is how the desert protects secrets. It is a test. You must not only survive the sun and sand, but also think carefully, notice details, and never give up. Many fail because they do not respect it. Leela nodded. And that is why these symbols exist. They guide those who are careful, but they also warn those who are careless. The tomb's creators wanted only the worthy to reach it. The afternoon was long, and the sun beat down relentlessly. Every step became harder, and exhaustion tested their resolve. Yet, they pressed on. Raman reminded himself that the tomb was not just a treasure. It was a story, a piece of history waiting to be discovered. That thought kept them moving forward. As they approached a large sand dune, they noticed something unusual. The wind had shifted the sand in patterns that looked like waves frozen in place. Within these patterns, they saw markings similar to the ones in the book. Raman pointed to them. These are not natural. Someone created them long ago. We are very close. Leela examined the patterns carefully. Yes, they are directional symbols. If we follow them, they will guide us to the entrance. But we must be careful. The sands can hide dangers. One wrong step, and we could be lost. Far led them across the shifting sand, moving slowly and deliberately. Each step required balance and attention. Occasionally, small rocks appeared, revealing the desert's hidden terrain beneath the sand. The group worked together, supporting each other when the sand threatened to pull them down. As the sun began to set, the sky turned a deep orange, then purple. The desert grew colder, and a gentle wind brushed against their faces. They reached a small plateau that overlooked a hidden valley below. From there, they could see a rocky formation partially covered by sand, almost as if the desert itself was trying to hide it. Raman's eyes widened. That must be it, he said. The tomb. It is there, hidden in the rocks. Leela and Fard nodded. They felt a mix of excitement and caution. The valley below was filled with shadows, and the tomb's entrance was not fully visible. They knew that reaching it would require care, intelligence, and courage. That night, they camped on the plateau, careful to hide their fire from view. They discussed the path for the next day, planning how to reach the tomb safely. Raman held the book in his hands, tracing the lines of the map. Tomorrow, he said softly, we will take the first step into history. We must stay alert and work together. The tomb is ancient. It will not give its secrets easily. Leela smiled slightly. We are ready. We have come this far, and we have learned from the desert. Whatever challenges await inside, we can face them if we trust each other, Fard added. The desert taught us patience and observation. Now, we will need courage and wisdom. The tomb will test more than our strength. It will test our minds and hearts. The stars shone above them, bright and clear. The desert night was quiet, but full of life. Strange sounds of wind and sand shifting echoed through the valley. Raman looked toward the hidden rocks and imagined the tomb lying beneath, waiting. He felt excitement, fear, and determination all at once. The journey had been long, and the desert had already tested them. But the tomb was near, and the adventure was only beginning. Tomorrow, they would take the next step, entering the unknown and uncovering secrets that had been hidden for centuries. Raman, Leela, and Fard fell asleep under the stars, knowing that their journey had just begun, and that the tomb would challenge everything they thought they knew about courage, friendship, and the mysteries of history. The sun rose slowly over the desert, spilling golden light across the sand dunes. Raman, Leela, and Fard packed their camp carefully. Their journey had brought them close to their goal, and excitement mixed with caution filled their hearts. The hidden tomb was nearby, but they knew that reaching it would not be simple. Every step required attention, and the desert had already taught them patience and respect. As they moved down the plateau, the rocky formation that Raman had spotted. The previous night grew larger. Layers of stone and sand hid much of its shape, as if the desert itself tried to protect it. Fard examined the rocks closely. These stones are arranged in a pattern, he said. Someone built this carefully. The entrance will be hidden. But the signs are here. We just need to find them. Leela studied the area, her eyes scanning every crack and line in the rocks. She spotted faint symbols carved into the stone, similar to the ones in the book. Look here, she said. These symbols mark the entrance. They match the map. The tomb is beneath this formation, covered by sand and stone. We must clear it carefully. Raman nodded. We have worked so hard to come this far. Let's proceed slowly. One mistake could damage the entrance or trigger something dangerous. We must be careful and smart. They began removing small stones and sand with their hands and simple tools. Each layer revealed more carvings, more signs of the ancient builder's skill. Raman felt a mix of excitement and reverence. Whoever built this tomb had put great thought into its protection. It was more than a place for treasure. It was a monument to knowledge and cautioned doubt as they worked. Leela examined the symbols. These are warnings, she said. They are telling us that only those with wisdom and courage may enter. Some symbols also seem to indicate traps or challenges inside. We must be ready for anything. Fard wiped sweat from his forehead. The desert has tested us so far, but the tomb itself will test us even more. We cannot rush. We need patience, observation, and teamwork. Hours passed, and the sun climbed high into the sky. They uncovered a large stone door, almost hidden beneath the sand. The carvings on it glowed faintly in the sunlight. It was not just a door, it was a puzzle. A challenge waiting for them. Raman, Leela, and Fard stood in front of it, studying every symbol, every line, and every groove. This is it, Raman whispered. The entrance to the tomb. Leela nodded. But it is also a test. See these symbols? They show a pattern, a sequence. I think we must arrange the symbols correctly to open the door. It is not only strength that will get us in, but knowledge and patience. Fard stepped closer. Then let us solve it together. We have learned to work as a team. Our courage and wisdom have brought us this far. Now, we must apply them carefully. They began analyzing the carvings. Some symbols matched patterns in the book. Others resembled shapes they had seen in the desert. Leela carefully traced the symbols with her fingers, comparing them to the map. Raman suggested moving certain stones that were part of the puzzle. Fard held a large rock in place while Leela adjusted smaller pieces. Hours passed, and the sun began to descend. Sweat and dust covered their faces, but their determination did not waver. Finally, Leela noticed a sequence that made sense. We must align the sun symbol with the river symbol, and the key symbol must touch the star. She said, "It is a balance. The builders wanted us to understand harmony before entering." Raman and Fard followed her instructions slowly. The carvings moved into place, clicking softly as they aligned. A faint glow spread across the stone door, and the ground trembled slightly beneath them. Raman held his breath. With a final click, the door shifted. A hidden passage opened, revealing darkness inside. A cool, still air flowed out, carrying the scent of ancient stone and history. Raman, Leela, and Fard stepped back and stared in awe. The tomb had remained untouched for centuries, and now they were the first to see it. Leela carefully lit a lantern, casting a warm glow into the passage. The walls were covered with murals and inscriptions, showing scenes of ancient life. People walked among glowing objects, lifted keys, and performed rituals. The art seemed alive, telling a story of wisdom, courage, and the search for immortality. Raman stepped forward cautiously. "This place, it is incredible," he said softly. "We are standing in history. Every detail, every symbol, it has been waiting for us." Fard adjusted his pack and led the way, keeping his eyes and ears alert. The entrance is open, but the tomb itself may have more challenges. Be ready for anything. We have come this far because we respected the desert and worked together. The tomb will demand the same. They moved carefully into the passage. The walls were smooth, yet covered with carvings that seemed to watch them. Some images showed animals. Others showed humans performing tasks that required intelligence and bravery. Raman felt a sense of wonder. The tomb was not just a place of treasure, it was a place of lessons. Leela pointed to a mural of a glowing key held above a person's head. These symbols, they show that the keys to immortality are not just objects, they are earned. You must pass trials, understand the lessons, and prove yourself worthy. Raman nodded. That makes sense. Everything so far, the desert, the map, the entrance has been a test. The tomb is the next step in that journey. Fard moved carefully, listening for any unusual sounds. The builders left no mistakes. Every stone, every step is intentional. We must be cautious, but also confident in ourselves. We know how to work together. That will help us overcome the challenges ahead. The passage stretched into darkness. Their lanterns revealed occasional chambers, small and large, each with carvings, objects, and puzzles. Some rooms seemed simple, but others contained hidden mechanisms and subtle traps. The tomb demanded intelligence, courage, and respect. As they moved deeper, Raman felt a mix of fear and excitement. The journey had been long and challenging, and now they were inside the heart of the mystery. The tomb held its secrets carefully, and only the brave and wise could uncover them. Leela paused to study a complex puzzle on the wall. We must solve this to continue. It is not just about strength. It is about understanding the builders' intentions, the symbols, and the lessons they wanted us to learn. Raman and Fard nodded. Then we will solve it, Raman said. Together, we have come this far, and we are ready to face whatever is inside. As they prepared to work on the puzzle, the tomb seemed to hum softly. The air was cool and quiet, yet filled with anticipation. Every step, every decision, every moment required focus and care. They were on the threshold of history, ready to uncover secrets that had been hidden for centuries. The hidden entrance had been found, and the tomb had accepted them as worthy to enter. The real journey, the trials, and mysteries inside was about to begin. Raman, Leela, and Fard took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to face the unknown and unlock the secrets of the ancient tomb. The air inside the tomb was cool and still, a stark contrast to the scorching desert outside. Raman, Leela, and Fard stepped carefully, their lanterns casting long shadows on the walls. Every step echoed softly, and the carved symbols seemed to watch them silently. They knew that this place was more than a tomb, it was a test, designed to challenge their courage, intelligence, and patience. The first chamber was wide and filled with stone pillars. Each pillar had symbols and patterns etched into its surface. In the center of the room lay a large stone pedestal with a puzzle carved on it. Leela examined it closely. This is more than decoration, she said. It is a challenge. We must solve it to proceed further. Raman bent over the pedestal. The puzzle was made of interlocking symbols and grooves. It looks like we must align the shapes correctly, he said. The book mentioned similar symbols. I think we can solve this if we work together, Fard nodded. Be careful. The tomb may have traps. One wrong move, and it could be dangerous. The three began carefully adjusting the symbols, testing different combinations. Hours passed as they worked slowly, testing their logic and patience. Occasionally, a small click sounded, and a section of the pedestal moved slightly. They realized that the puzzle was teaching them to think, observe, and remain calm under pressure. Finally, with a careful combination of symbols, the puzzle clicked into place. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a narrow passageway leading deeper into the tomb. Raman felt a surge of excitement. We did it, he said. This is the first step. There will be more challenges, but we are ready. Leela smiled. This is just the beginning. The tomb is testing our minds as much as our courage. We must stay focused. The passage narrowed, forcing them to walk single file. The walls were lined with strange murals depicting people facing challenges, carrying keys, and standing before glowing objects. The art seemed alive, as if the ancient builders wanted to teach lessons through images. Raman studied the murals carefully. These images, They show us what we might face. Each trial is meant to teach something. We must pay attention to every detail. Soon, they reached a room filled with water. The chamber was deep and stepping, and without caution could be dangerous. The floor was uneven, and small platforms protruded above the water, forming a path. Leela examined the symbols on the walls. "We must step on the platforms in the correct order," she said. "The wrong step may trigger a trap." Raman took a deep breath. "Then we move slowly and carefully. Watch each step and trust each other." They began crossing, one step at a time. Fard led, testing each platform before Raman and Leela followed. Some platforms were unstable, and small stones shifted under their weight. By working together, they navigated the water safely, reaching the other side without harm. Leela examined the walls again. "These trials are not meant to scare us. They are meant to teach us to observe, to think, and to work together." The tomb rewards patience, intelligence, and courage. The next chamber was dark, filled with mirrors that reflected their lantern light in confusing directions. The reflections created illusions, making it hard to see the real path. Raman felt a moment of fear as the images multiplied around him. "Which way do we go?" he whispered. Fard held his hand up. "We must trust our instincts. Not everything we see is real. Look for patterns and focus on what makes sense. The tomb tests your mind, not just your eyes." Leela led the way, carefully guiding them through the mirrored maze. They moved slowly, testing each step, noticing small differences in the reflections that indicated the correct path. After tense moments, they reached the end of the maze safely. Raman exhaled, feeling a mix of relief and pride. "We made it," he said. "The tomb is teaching us well." Deeper into the tomb, they entered a chamber filled with carvings of animals, plants, and stars. A strange hum filled the air, and the floor had small symbols that glowed faintly under their feet. Leela knelt to examine the carvings. "These symbols are connected to the elements and the natural world," she said. "The tomb tests understanding, not just physical skill." Raman stepped carefully among the glowing symbols. "We must follow the patterns exactly," he said. "It is about respect for the knowledge the builders left behind. One mistake could close the path or trigger a trap." Together, they moved across the chamber, paying attention to every symbol and every pattern. Their teamwork and patience guided them safely to the other side. Raman felt a growing sense of respect for the tomb and its creators. This place, it is a test, yes, but also a lesson. It teaches courage, wisdom, and patience. That is the true treasure. Fard nodded. "And it teaches us to trust each other. Alone, we may not have succeeded. Together, we can overcome any challenge." The final chamber of the day was larger than the others, with a high ceiling and a glowing central object resting on a pedestal. Around it were smaller puzzles and symbols. Leela examined the inscriptions. "This is the final trial for now," she said. "We must use everything we have learned: observation, courage, patience, and teamwork." Raman approached the pedestal cautiously. The object glowed faintly, and the symbols seemed to react to their presence. He reached out slowly, careful not to touch anything else. Fard and Leela guided him, giving directions and warnings. Together, they solved the smaller puzzles, aligning symbols and pressing hidden mechanisms in the correct order. Finally, the central object emitted a bright glow. The floor trembled slightly, and a hidden door opened, leading to the next section of the tomb. Raman, Leela, and Fard exchanged looks of triumph. They had passed the trials, learning lessons about patience, intelligence, and courage. The tomb had tested them and accepted them as worthy to continue. Leela smiled. "These trials are not over, but we are ready for the next steps. The tomb has taught us much already. We must continue to pay attention, work together, and respect its lessons." Fard nodded. "The desert tested our strength, and the tomb tests our minds and hearts. Together, we will uncover its secrets, and we will learn from every challenge." Raman took a deep breath. "The journey has been hard, but every challenge has prepared us for what is to come. The tomb holds the keys to something greater than treasure. It holds knowledge, wisdom, and the secrets of immortality. We must proceed carefully and respectfully. The trials of the tomb had strengthened them, teaching lessons that went beyond simple obstacles. They understood that courage, intelligence, and trust in each other were the true keys to moving forward. As they prepared to continue deeper into the tomb, they felt ready for whatever awaited them next. The journey through the tomb was far from over, but Raman, Leela, and Fard were determined to uncover its mysteries and honor the wisdom of its builders. The air grew colder as Raman, Leela, and Fard stepped deeper into the tomb. The passageways widened into a large chamber, unlike any room they had seen before. The ceiling was high and carved with intricate symbols that glowed faintly in the light of their lanterns. In the center of the chamber stood a massive stone figure, its features carved with astonishing detail. It was a guardian, larger than any human, with eyes that seemed to watch every movement. Raman stopped, holding his lantern high. This must be the guardian the stories spoke about. He whispered, "It is here to test anyone who seeks the keys." Leela studied the carvings on the walls. "These inscriptions describe the guardian," she said. "It awakens when someone enters and asks questions or gives challenges. It is not evil, but it judges intentions, wisdom, and courage. We must be careful and thoughtful." Fard stepped closer to Raman and Leela. "We have passed every challenge so far because we worked together and respected the tomb. Now, we must do the same with the guardian. Speak clearly, show honesty, and answer wisely." As they moved forward, the guardian's eyes began to glow with a bright, golden light. Slowly, it stepped down from its pedestal, its massive stone feet creating deep echoes in the chamber. The air seemed to vibrate with energy. Raman's heart raced, but he forced himself to remain calm. A deep, resonant voice filled the chamber. "Travelers," it said, "you have come far and shown courage. But the path ahead is not granted to all. Only those who are worthy may proceed. I am the guardian of the tomb. Answer my riddles and prove your intentions. Fail, and the path will close forever." Leela whispered, "Stay calm. Think carefully. The guardian is testing our minds and our hearts, not just our knowledge." The guardian spoke the first riddle. "I am not alive, but I grow. I do not have a mouth, yet I speak. I am not a river, yet I flow. What am I?" Raman thought for a moment. He looked at the walls, at the glowing symbols, and then at the murals they had seen. "Knowledge." He said softly, "Knowledge grows. It speaks through teaching, and it flows through those who share it." The guardian's eyes glowed brighter. "For a moment, your answer shows understanding. Knowledge is indeed a gift that grows with care and spreads with wisdom. You may proceed further." But the next challenge requires deeper insight. The second riddle followed quickly. "I have no wings, but I can travel far. I have no legs, but I reach many places. I can be held, yet I cannot be contained. What am I?" Leela stepped forward, her voice calm. "A story," she said. "A story can travel far, reach many people, and inspire others, yet it cannot be contained. It exists wherever it is shared." The guardian paused, its stone form unmoving for a long moment. Then it spoke. "Wisdom and understanding the unseen is rare. You have answered correctly. Your hearts and minds show the virtues of those who are worthy, yet one final test remains. Only with honesty and courage may the keys be revealed." The chamber seemed to shift as the guardian asked the final riddle. "I am sought by many, yet earned by few. I am the end of fear, the reward of patience, and the companion of courage. What am I?" Raman, Leela, and Far looked at each other, thinking carefully. This was the hardest question they had faced. Fard spoke first. "It is trust," he said. "Trust in ourselves, in each other, and in the path we follow." Leela added, "And also wisdom. Wisdom comes from experience, courage, and learning. From every step." Raman nodded. "The answer is immortality in knowledge and action. True immortality is not only life without end, but the lasting impact of our deeds, our learning, and the stories we leave behind." The guardian's eyes glowed brighter than ever, filling the chamber with a warm light. Slowly, it stepped aside, revealing a passage leading to a glowing chamber beyond. "You have answered with honesty, courage, and understanding. You are worthy to receive the secrets of the tomb. Proceed and learn what has been guarded for centuries." Raman, Leela, and Fard felt a wave of relief and triumph. They had faced the Guardian, not with weapons, but with wisdom, patience, and courage. The lessons of the desert and the trials of the tomb had prepared them well. Together, they stepped forward into the glowing chamber. The next room was unlike anything they had imagined. It was filled with light, golden and gentle, as if the chamber itself held knowledge. On a central pedestal lay a set of objects, glowing softly, each shaped like a key. Round the keys were ancient scrolls, detailing methods and teachings that had been preserved for generations. The inscriptions spoke of the importance of wisdom, courage, and balance in life. Leela stepped closer, studying the scrolls. "These keys," she said, "are not just objects. They represent understanding, patience, and the lessons learned by those who seek them. The tomb teaches that immortality is earned through knowledge, courage, and virtue, not by simple possession." Raman picked up one of the keys carefully. A warmth spread through his hands. "I understand now," he said. "The keys are symbolic. They show that immortality comes from what we do with our lives, how we learn, and how we inspire others. The tomb is not just a treasure, it is a teacher." Fard nodded, holding another key. "We have faced the desert, the puzzles, the trials, and the Guardian. Each challenge has prepared us. Now, we must carry this wisdom beyond the tomb and use it to guide others. That is the true reward." The Guardian spoke again, its voice soft now, but filled with authority. "Remember what you have learned. The keys are not mere objects. They are symbols of understanding, courage, and patience. Use them wisely, and your actions will leave a lasting legacy. The tomb will remain, guarding its secrets until others worthy arrive." Raman, Leela, and Fard looked at each other, feeling a deep sense of purpose. The tomb had tested them in every way, physically, mentally, and emotionally. They had learned that the journey itself, the challenges faced, and the lessons understood were more important than any treasure. The Guardian had shown them that true immortality was in wisdom, courage, and the positive impact one leaves on the world. They carefully examined the chamber, taking in every inscription, every carving, and every detail. They understood that they were part of something much larger than themselves. The tomb had preserved knowledge and lessons across centuries, waiting for those who were patient, brave, and wise. As they prepared to leave the chamber, Raman spoke quietly. "We have been given a gift, not of endless life, but of understanding. It is our responsibility to use it well, to carry it into the world, and to share what we have learned without disturbing the tomb further." Leela smiled. "The journey is far from over. The tomb has shown us the value of courage, patience, and knowledge. We must now apply these lessons in our own lives and help others understand them too," Fard added. "And we must always remember that respect and humility are as important as courage and wisdom. The tomb rewarded us because we honored its lessons. That is what will guide us forward." With care, they stepped back through the passageway, leaving the glowing chamber and its secrets protected by the Guardian. The lessons they had learned stayed with them, stronger than any treasure. The tomb had tested them, guided them, and taught them the true meaning of immortality. Raman, Leela, and Fard felt a deep sense of accomplishment. They had faced the Guardian, solved the riddles, and uncovered the symbolic keys to immortality. The tomb had accepted them, recognizing their courage, intelligence, and respect. The journey had been hard, but the lessons they had learned were priceless. As they prepared to continue, they knew that the tomb still held more mysteries, more lessons, and more challenges. But they also knew that they had grown stronger, wiser, and more united as a team. The Guardian had awakened, tested them, and now, in its quiet way, it had entrusted them with the wisdom of the ages. Raman, Leela, and Fard stepped into the glowing chamber, feeling a mixture of awe and anticipation. The light seemed to come from everywhere at once, gentle but bright, illuminating every symbol, every carving, and every object. In the center of the room lay a pedestal with several small, glowing stones shaped like keys. Around them were ancient scrolls and inscriptions in languages both familiar and strange. The chamber had an air of calm and wisdom, as if it had been waiting for them for centuries. Leela approached the pedestal first. She studied the glowing keys carefully. "These are not ordinary objects," she said. "They are symbols representing knowledge, courage, and the lessons of the tomb. They are the keys to understanding immortality, but not in the way most people think." Raman reached out slowly and held one of the keys. A warmth spread through his hands. He felt a sense of energy, not of magic, but of understanding. "I see it now," he said softly. "Immortality is not about living forever. It is about what we learn, what we teach, and what we leave behind." These keys symbolize the knowledge and courage needed to make a lasting impact. Fard picked up another key. The tomb tested our strength, our patience, and our wisdom. These keys are a reward for facing those challenges. They remind us that true immortality is earned, not given. It comes from our actions, our choices, and the way we inspire others. Leela carefully unrolled one of the scrolls. It described methods of understanding the natural world, human behavior, and the importance of courage and compassion. "The keys are tied to learning and growth," she said. "They are not objects that grant eternal life. They represent the power of knowledge, the value of wisdom, and the courage to use them wisely." Raman examined the other keys. Each one was different in shape and glow, yet all seemed connected. He realized that the keys were meant to be understood together, not separately. "Each key represents a different quality," he said. "One is courage, one is patience, one is wisdom, and one is understanding. Together, they form the true path to immortality through knowledge and virtuous action." Fard nodded. "The tomb has guided us to this understanding. We have faced challenges, solved puzzles, and answered riddles. Each step prepared us to grasp the meaning of these keys. The tomb teaches that immortality is not simply a gift, but a responsibility." They spent hours studying the chamber, the keys, and the scrolls. The inscriptions explained that humans could leave a lasting legacy through teaching, helping others, and living with integrity. Immortality came from the stories people told, the wisdom they shared, and the positive impact they made on the world. The keys were reminders of these principles, not magical objects. Raman held one key up to the light. "I understand now," he said. "The tomb is not a place to take treasure or power. It is a teacher. It shows that our actions, our learning, and our courage are what make life meaningful. That is immortality." Leela smiled. "It is a lesson we can take with us, far beyond this tomb. The knowledge and understanding we gain are more valuable than anything else. We can use them to guide others and make the world better." Fard looked around the chamber. "The tomb has been waiting for those who are ready. It tests character, wisdom, and courage. Those who fail do not reach the keys. Those who succeed must carry the lessons into the world. That is the real gift." Raman, Leela, and Fard each held a key in their hands, feeling the weight of responsibility and the warmth of understanding. They knew that their journey through the desert, the puzzles, the trials, and the Guardian had prepared them for this moment. The keys were not just symbols, they were guides to living a meaningful life. Leela unrolled another scroll. It described how ancient civilizations had valued knowledge, courage, and compassion above all else. They had built the tomb not to hoard treasures, but to teach that true immortality comes from living wisely and leaving a positive mark on the world. "This scroll confirms what we have learned," she said. "The tomb was a teacher all along. The keys are symbols of what it means to live a life of value." Raman looked around at his friends. "We have discovered something extraordinary, not because of gold or jewels, but because of the wisdom we have gained. These keys remind us that the most powerful gifts are understanding, courage, patience, and integrity." Fard nodded. "We now carry a responsibility. We must use what we have learned to guide others, to teach, and to make choices that honor the lessons of the tomb. That is how we achieve true immortality, through our actions, our guidance, and the legacy we leave behind." They spent the next few hours exploring the chamber carefully. Every symbol, every carving, and every scroll added to their understanding. They realized that the keys and the teachings were connected to everything they had experienced on their journey to the desert. The puzzles, the trials, and the guardian. Each step had prepared them to understand the true meaning of immortality. Raman placed his key back on the pedestal for a moment, thinking deeply. The tomb has given us more than objects, he said. It has given us insight, if we live wisely. Teach what we have learned and act with courage. We can make a lasting impact. That is the immortality the tomb promised. Leela nodded. And it is a responsibility we must honor. We cannot take these lessons lightly. The tomb will continue to guide those who are ready, but we must live by what we have learned and share it with care. Fard looked at the keys one last time. The desert tested our bodies, the tomb tested our minds, and the guardian tested our intentions. Together, they prepared us to understand these keys. The lesson is clear. Immortality is not about living forever, but about making a meaningful life and leaving a lasting legacy. As they prepared to leave the chamber, they each held their keys carefully. They understood that these symbols were not to be removed from the tomb recklessly, but to be carried in their hearts as guidance for life. The keys were reminders of courage, patience, wisdom, and understanding, and the tomb had entrusted them with the knowledge of immortality in action. Raman, Leela, and Fard stepped back toward the passageway, leaving the glowing chamber behind. The tomb had tested them, taught them, and accepted them as worthy. The journey had been challenging, but the rewards were greater than they could have imagined. They had discovered that immortality was not a treasure to possess, but a life to live with courage, wisdom, and integrity. The lessons of the tomb filled their hearts as they prepared for the journey back. They knew that the desert awaited, and that returning home would bring new challenges, yet they also knew that the keys had given them understanding that could guide every decision, every action, and every choice they would make in the future. The glowing chamber remained behind them, silent and calm, holding its secrets for the next seekers. Raman, Leela, and Fard felt a deep sense of purpose. The tomb had given them knowledge, wisdom, and the keys to immortality, not as a gift of endless life, but as guidance to live a meaningful life and leave a lasting impact. Raman, Leela, and Fard began their journey back through the desert. The sun rose slowly over the horizon, casting long shadows across the sand. Each step felt lighter than before, not because the journey had become easier, but because their hearts carried the wisdom of the tomb. They had faced countless trials, solved puzzles, and met the guardian. Yet it was the lessons they had learned that now guided them forward. Raman looked at his friends and smiled. "We have more than knowledge," he said. "We have a purpose. We must share what we learned and use it to help others. That is how the keys will truly fulfill their power." Leela nodded. "The tomb tested us, but it also trusted us. We cannot take its lessons lightly. We must act with courage and integrity, teaching others the importance of wisdom, patience, and understanding." Fard adjusted his pack, thinking about the long journey ahead. The desert will challenge us again on the way home. But nothing is greater than the lessons we carry. Every step now has meaning. As they traveled, they encountered travelers, nomads, and merchants along the desert paths. At first, the team remained quiet, observing the surroundings and the people. But soon, they realized that sharing small lessons from their journey could help those they met. Raman spoke about courage, Leela shared the value of learning, and Fard explained the importance of helping others. People listened with respect and interest. Sensing the sincerity in their words, one evening, they set up camp near an oasis. The sky was filled with stars, and the quiet desert offered a rare peace. Sitting around the small fire, they reflected on their experiences. Raman spoke first. The tomb was not a place of treasure, but a place of understanding. The keys taught us that immortality comes not from living forever, but from leaving wisdom behind, inspiring others, and acting with courage and compassion. Leela added, "We must remember that the knowledge we gained is powerful, but it must be shared carefully. People are ready to learn when the lessons are spoken with honesty and care." "That is how we continue the path the tomb started for us," Fard nodded. "Our journey has prepared us to face challenges beyond the desert. With these keys guiding our actions, we can help our village and anyone who needs guidance. The tomb gave us lessons, and it is now our responsibility to live them. Days passed as they moved closer to their village. The desert winds shifted, carrying the scent of distant towns and the promise of home. Each step reminded them of the tomb's teachings and the trials they had overcome. They remembered the puzzles that tested their minds, the guardian who tested their intentions, and the chamber where the glowing keys had revealed their true meaning. All these experiences had shaped them, and now they were ready to use what they had learned. When they finally arrived at their village, people were surprised to see them. Word had spread about their expedition into the desert, and many villagers were curious about what they had discovered. Raman, Leela, and Far were greeted with a mixture of awe and anticipation. Villagers asked questions, but the team spoke only of the lessons, not the treasure. Raman stood in the village square, holding one of the keys carefully in his hands. "We found a tomb," he began, but it was not filled with gold or jewels. It was filled with wisdom. We learned that immortality is not about living forever. It is about what we do with our lives, how we teach, how we help, and how we act with courage and integrity, Leela added. The tomb taught us that knowledge and understanding are the greatest treasures. True immortality comes from sharing what you learn and using it to make a positive difference in the world. Far concluded. The desert tested us, and the tomb tested us. We succeeded not because we were lucky, but because we worked together, trusted each other, and acted with honesty and courage. That is the lesson we bring back to you. That is the true key to immortality. The villagers listened quietly, inspired by the words of the three travelers. Children gathered near, eyes wide with curiosity. Elders nodded, recognizing the wisdom in the story. People began to discuss how they could apply these lessons in their daily lives, helping neighbors, teaching children, and living with courage and patience. Raman, Leela, and Fard spent the following weeks teaching and guiding the villagers. They created small groups to learn from one another, focusing on skills, knowledge, and character. The team emphasized that the tomb's teachings were not a secret to hoard, but a gift to share. Slowly, the village began to change. People acted with more understanding, courage, and patience. They helped each other more willingly and listened to one another with respect. The three explorers also recorded their journey carefully. Raman wrote a detailed account of the expedition, describing the desert, the challenges, the guardian, and the chamber with the keys. Leela translated and explained the inscriptions and scrolls, making the knowledge accessible to anyone willing to learn. Fard ensured that the lessons were practical, showing how courage and patience could guide real-life decisions. As the years passed, the story of the tomb and the keys spread beyond the village. Travelers and scholars visited to learn from Raman, Leela, and Fard, not seeking treasure, but seeking guidance and wisdom. The desert continued to hold its mysteries, but the true treasure of the tomb, the lessons of courage, patience, wisdom, and understanding, reached many hearts. The keys themselves remain with Raman, Leela, and Farid, not as objects of power, but as symbols to remind them of the journey and the lessons they had learned. Every morning, they would hold the keys, reflecting on the responsibilities they carried and the lives they had touched. They understood that immortality was not about living forever, but about leaving a lasting impact through their actions and teachings. In time, the village became known as a place of learning and understanding. Children grew up hearing the story of the tomb, inspired to act with courage and integrity. The desert, once seen as a harsh and empty place, was remembered as the setting of an incredible journey that taught the value of life, wisdom, and legacy. Raman, Leela, and Fard remained close friends, continuing to guide others and live by the lessons they had learned. They knew that the tomb had given them a gift, far greater than gold or jewels. It had given them understanding, purpose, and the keys to immortality in action. And so, their journey ended not with the discovery of treasure, but with the beginning of a legacy. Through their words, deeds, and guidance, the lessons of the ancient tomb lived on, touching lives, inspiring courage, and showing that true immortality comes from living wisely and leaving a positive mark on the world. The tomb remained hidden in the desert, waiting for the next seekers. Its light and lessons preserved for those ready to face its tests. But Raman, Leela, and Fard knew that they had already unlocked its greatest secret. Immortality is found in knowledge, courage, wisdom, and the stories we leave behind.